Ladies and gents, internet, my name is Peridiam, and whether you're here for the implosions, the blindsides, the distrust, or just the self-inflicted wounds, there's a lot of bad gameplay to go around, so strap in. Frankly, I am flabbergasted by the lack of talent in this video. I won't be number crunching much with this top 5. It's more of a gut instinct ordering, and yeah, there have been a lot of alliances and bad alliances in Big Brother history. With this list, I stuck with those that were real and had some impact and would make sense to be considered. If there's an alliance I may have missed, let me know. But otherwise, here are the top 5 worst Big Brother alliances, starting with number 5. When they go low, we go high. Rolling in at number 5, we start the ranking with a pesky mega alliance of 9 players from Big Brother 17. It's the High Rollers, who eventually crumbled into the Goblins, who basically did the opposite of what the Detonators had accomplished from the year prior. The High Rollers were an alliance of 9 players consisting of Audrey, James, Jason, Devon, Meg, Shelly, Clay, Jeff, and Jackie. It's a lot of people. They intended to follow in the footsteps of the Bomb Squad and the Detonators from BB16, especially given Battle of the Block was back in play. They would win the HOH comps, force the outsiders to go with the house each vote, and pick off their biggest threats for at least the first 5 weeks. They successfully backdoored Jace, who was deemed a big physical threat by the end of week 1, but man, did everything come crumbling down after that in spectacular fashion. This was an alliance that really fell asleep at the wheel and lost sight of the bigger picture, fell victim to distrust between core members over petty points of contention, and ultimately created enough cracks for the outsiders, particularly Vanessa, to finesse their way into and drive massive wedges between the group. The dismantling of the High Rollers is a sight to behold. It's something to be studied. It made the first several weeks of the season a blast to watch, and while a lot of moving parts had to shift to make their collapse and utter failure happen, I really give a lot of credit to Vanessa and how she bonded closely to Shelly and Audrey to gain vital information, and then use that information to pit key alliance members against one another. Combine that with some terrible gameplay, Audrey's lies of a girls' alliance, or leaking High Roller plans, you get the massive blow up between Day and Audrey, the distrust between Day and Clay, or Clay and Audrey and Shelly, or James and Clay, or gosh, what a tangled web of a mess we weave. 7 of their 9 members were evicted in the following 7 weeks, and the rest is history.
Don't come to me like that, I'm telling you right now. Don't come to me like that again.
We get out of my face, Clay.
You guys, calm down.
Every example there is, the mistrust between them, the mistrust between everybody and Vanessa, all the mistrust in this whole house has all been planted by you.
Your has hit the fan point blank and the period.
Devon, Jeff, Audrey, Jason, Clay, Shelly, Jackie, you are evicted from the Big Brother house.
Number 4. Like finding out your mermaid mom was killed after being hit by a pirate ship, sequels to smash hits, or even sequels to bad sequels to smash hits, usually never live up to their predecessor, and that is certainly the case with the moving company from Big Brother 15, a redux version of the Brigade from Big Brother 12. Because that's how strategy evolves, and what the Brigade pulled off on BB12 was domination top to bottom. 4 guys band together in week 1, keep it secret, keep it safe, they form side alliances with the rest of the cast, vouch for each other, and always ensure they're never connected beyond their side alliance. It's genius. It made playing Big Brother look kinda easy, and so why not try to replicate it? Well, in comes the moving company, BB15, 5 more guys banding together around the week 1 HOH, all agreeing to keep each other safe, win all the comps, and pick off all their targets one by one. The problem, however, was that by week 2, almost none of them trusted each other, and they were bursting at the seams, ready to implode. These guys all overthought the procedure, between Spencer turning against them with his side deals, attempting to flip Howard against the Alliance 2, to Nick doing a terrible job at avoiding the secret MVP nomination chopping block, to McRae falling for Amanda and splitting off from the rest, to Jeremy acting as the mob boss calling the shots, despite not really calling anything. It's a merry-go-round of mess. Unlike the Brigade, a huge component of successful alliances is trust and loyalty, and none of these guys were all that interested in each other in the first place. Several of them realized there were greener pastures and broke rank. Nick, the brains of the operation, was blindsided in week 2, followed by Jeremy in week 3, followed by Howard not long after.
I am flabbergasted by the talent in this room.
Firing up the truck, moving them out.
Statistically, now gives us over a 25% chance of winning the MVP every single time. That's the way to make it. Final five, man.
By a vote of 7-4, Nick, you are evicted from the Big Brother house.
Number 3. And here's to you, failed alliances. The fans may love you more than you will know. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Number 3 is the pitiful, absolutely pitiful Mrs. Robinson Alliance from Big Brother 8, a secret group of 4 players who were formed after the first HOH, seems to be a recurring trend. Kale approached 3 bigger guys, Mike, Nick, and Zach, and asked them to work with her. They all agreed, and you would think this could be the rough draft for the aforementioned brigade, at least on paper, but no. Not really. Kale was the Mrs. Robinson of the Alliance, a reference to the movie The Graduate, and for the first week, they appeared to be sitting pretty. Noticing a trend with this ranking. However, there's always a however. During week 2, Kale attempts to blindside Dick Donato by turning his daughter against him. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. On top of this, her entire alliance doesn't vote with her, and when she reconvenes with them after the vote, they're all totally out of the loop. They just didn't bother to tell Kale they decided to not flip against Dick. And then, of course, Dick wins that next HOH, and the spiraling continues as Kale gets targeted, but manages to survive for 3 straight weeks, only to eventually get taken out after a failed backdoor attempt happens in week 5. Along the way, Mike just totally misplays a veto comp, Nick gets sniped off of a misread hinky vote, and yeah, finally Kale gets put out of her misery. Shambles. Just utter shambles.
It's you 3 guys, and I'm left in the cold. I'm like, is there even an alliance? Is there an alliance? Seriously, is Zach and Nick with us or not?
I have no idea.
These men are cowardly. I mean, come on.
I guess Kale exposed the alliance. Dick being Dick, tried to see if he could put me on edge, but you know, I'm used to battling people like that.
With this week, I guarantee you, Zach is gonna run scared, okay? Mike is already separating himself because he voted for me too.
I might change my nomination to Zach, to Mike. We'll see who else.
Number 2. Speaking of shambles, how about creating a 4-person secret alliance on day 1 and then becoming the first 4 boots of the season? Sounds like a plan. Wait, what? Believe it or not, I actually only have the Regulators alliance from Big Brother 13 at number 2 on this ranking, despite them all being voted out in the pre-jury. Keith, Cassie, Dominic, and Lawan formed the first alliance of the season, a newbie pact of sorts, to protect themselves from the returning player veterans who appeared on Big Brother 13. Forced to band together through convenience, these 4 did their best to keep the new players rallied together, and even though they lost Keith by the end of the first week, they did stand a chance given Kalia and Shelly were on the fence at one point or another leading up to that eviction. I mean, it was a bad idea to form a resistance to the producers' pets in the first place, but I appreciate the attempt. What we ended up seeing from here was Cassie getting evicted in week 2, Dominic getting evicted in week 3, and Lawan purposefully volunteering to get evicted in week 5 after believing he may get a superpower advantage if he got evicted. Spoiler alert, he didn't. He didn't get a superpower, but he did get evicted. But he did lose a battleback comp to Brendan to become the final pre-juror of the season, meaning all 4 of these players in this alliance are listed next to each other in the boot order, an amusing occurrence, one that is particularly befitting of a video such as this. While technically Brendan was evicted after Dominic, it is still a really bad look and difficult to overlook when considering who the worst alliances we've ever seen are.
It was an epic moment, guys. What's their name? I love the Regulators. Yeah. No, I didn't. Because we go Regulators.
By a vote of 6-4, 9-0, 7-1, 6-0, Keith, Cassie, Dominic, Lawan, you are evicted from the Big Brother house.
Boom.
Hey, Keith, this is the first time you're seeing who was evicted after your departure. Any surprises?
Dominic and Cassie here, we had an alliance until I was evicted.
Cassie?
And yet, despite all that, I don't have them at number 1. Because even though the Regulators did nothing but regulate their boot order, On some level, I sympathize with their plight, if only because they had little wiggle room in the first place. They were up against returning players, they never won any HOHs, they certainly didn't have the producers in their corner, and they all lacked experience. The playing field wasn't even. In many ways, their demise was their own fault, but I think that's even more the case for who I've got at number 1. Because the number 1 worst alliance in Big Brother history thus far, I believe, is Faute from Big Brother 20, also known as 5 of Us Till the End, who eventually turned into The Hive. Bad News Bears meets a ragtag band of misfits meets an unfortunate series of events meets some of the worst gameplay you will ever see this side of an LA studio lot. The biggest difference to me between Faute on BB20 and, say, the Regulators is that Faute were regularly in control of the HOH, the nominations, and even held a majority of the votes, yet were consistently blindsided week after week after week, even when they had the opposing side of the house dead to rights. Even when level 6, the opposing alliance, had 2 of their members on the block and facing eviction, Faute were still blindsided. Twice. Faute consisted of Fessy, Haley, Caitlyn, Rockstar, and Swaggy, but then quickly added Bailey and Scotty to the mix too. Everything about their demise can be traced back to week 1, where they get blindsided at the first vote against Steve, with Caitlyn flipping her vote, only to then win the next HOH, only to then backdoor her ally Swaggy, only to then see Faute target Brett but have Winston go instead. Caitlyn gets evicted in week 4 and fails to piece together a very simple puzzle, adding salt to the wound. Every week, Faute would never get their way. That is the recurring theme. For the first 5 evictions, the vote was split, and after the results were read, we would see the same old song and dance, the same old routine of who flipped from the Faute side. It became an infamous meme born out of ineptitude. Coupled with the alliance blaming and turning on each other for the flips and losing trust within their own ranks, it really just is a comedy of errors going deep into the season, where it all ends with Fessy targeting Scotty of all people, when Scotty was one of the last allies he had left in the game. The Regulators never stood much of a chance, but Faute and the Hive had a million chances and failed at every turn, and that's why I have them at number 1.
This doesn't make any sense! This is so freaking stupid! Why would he put his ally on the block against some guy who keeps staying no matter who he's up against? He's literally taking his number and getting rid of it for no reason!
Who wins HOH? Haley wins HOH. Who goes home? Rockstar goes home. So we're totally screwed next week, but who wins HOH? Let's see. Who's sent home? The last remaining member of our alliance.
Those are who I believe are the top 5 worst alliances in Big Brother ... so far. So I'm curious to know if you guys all agree or disagree with my perspective and my takes, if there are any other alliances that maybe should be considered. I want to say thank you to my patrons for trusting me enough to not break ranks so quickly after all these weeks and fail backdoors. And in the end, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to keep your friends close, but your enemies closer on your way out. And I will see you in the next one, once I come to the sudden realization that my friends and my enemies may just be one and the same.
By a vote of 7 to 6, Steve.
This is a complete blindside to me.
By a vote of 8 to 4, Swaggy.
So I was blindsided by Swaggy getting on the block. Now I'm blindsided when I hear the vote count.
By a vote of 6 to 5, Winston.
This is the 3rd straight week we've been blindsided. Me and my squad are going out bad.
By a vote of 5 to 4, Rachel.
Damn, this is the 4th time I've voted on the wrong side of the house.
By a vote of 5 to 1, Rockstar.
This makes it the 5th time I had no idea where the votes were gonna lie.
We were like, just the worst alliance ever.